Good evening. Welcome to New Horizons. If you do have a mobile phone, if you would like to put it on silent, please. Thank you. A massive welcome to Frank Willis, who asked the question, are they messing with your chi? Frank is a former soldier, later a mercenary and a martial arts expert with an intimate knowledge of chi energy. This energy, often denied by medical professionals, though without much evidence to back their claim. Lo and behold, Frank has discovered that certain people are capable and interested in manipulating this energy for us, but maybe not in a very nice way. How might this occur? Let's find out. Please welcome Frank Willis.
Thanks for the welcome. Before I start, I just want to tell you something what happened over the weekend. A friend of mine asked me what I was doing tonight, and I said I was coming here to do a talk. And she said, oh, all that conspiracy crap again. So I just went, well, hang on, you don't even know what I'm talking about. And she says, well, it'll be conspiracy, it'll be UFOs, something like that. I went, well, what's wrong with that? She said, oh, it's all in your head. And I went, right. So you represent society, do you? And she says, yeah. I went, right. Well, your society is based on a book called the Bible. The law is based on the Bible. And the Bible was written by people who listened to some alien from above. So go and do one. But I found that's the attitude of the majority of people. The minute you think outside the box, they're on you. And I just sit back and laugh at them now, because what they represent is far more stupider than anything I can dream of which I'll go into tonight. So are they messing with your chi? Well, first off is, what is chi? Basically, chi is a life force. It's an energy. The Chinese have believed in it for at least 5,000 years. The West still doesn't believe in it, still won't accept it, which happened to me in court about 10 years ago when I was fighting for access to my children. The psychologist said it was all in my head. Well, of course, I took her to court later on and proved that it wasn't all in my head. That's hence the 2 world records I hold in using chi energy. And the judge, bless him, he turned to her and asked her what her qualifications were. She said, I'm a doctor of psychology. And he says, well, can you please explain to me how he's broke 18 concrete slabs? And she said, I can't. He said, but you were so quick to say it was all in his head. So needless to say, I won the court case and I had her struck off. But it's just amazing in this day and age that you hold a belief that's slightly different, and the term used these days is now terrorist. There was a guy in America, I don't know if people have been following what's been going on in Ferguson, but some guy got shot, people started protesting it, and the truth is slowly coming out that he was executed basically by the police. Now the government are that fearful of an uprising that all around Ferguson now is hundreds and hundreds of police and military. And it's my belief that within the next 3-4 months, martial law is going to be declared in America because of what's happening in Ferguson. And I've talked to quite a few people. I've spoke about it on Facebook to a wider audience, and they're all, oh, it's a conspiracy. And the fact is it's not. The fact is it's a reality. Martial law will come to America, and it's coming very, very quickly. Of course, it's going to follow into this country. Now, the reason why people are saying no, it's because they're dumbed down. And this is where why they're affecting our chi. This is where this talk was born from, basically. I've researched chi for many, many years. I've practiced it for 36 years. And I'm well aware that chi energy is real, and I'm well aware that they know it's real. Now, they, or the Illuminati, the New World Order, whatever you want to call them, but they are the ones who are in power, the ones who are ruling and pulling the strings, the ones with the money. I mean, just how easily this is to prove. Cancer can be cured, and there's many, many success stories around the world, and doctors and professors are involved in it, that cannabis oil is curing cancer. So you think, right, well, let's legalise cannabis oil so doctors can prescribe it. Well, you can't, because the US government has the patent on it, or they did do till about 6 months ago. They sold it to Monsanto. And if you know anything about Monsanto, they now own the largest private army in the world of 25,000 mercenaries. So think about that. Who goes to war? Does the government go to war, or do these large corporations go to war? The future wars will be done by corporations, and water will be the commodity which will outplace gold, oil and drugs. I mean, of course we know that the ruling elite, their god is gold, oil and drugs. Who's the head of this Illuminati New World Order type thing? Well, a lot of researchers come up with the 13 families. I'm not going to speculate or anything, but I'm just going to use one family as an example, and that's the Coburg-Schloss-Battenbergs, aka the Windsors. They're a bunch of Germans. They are alien to this country as much as I am, because I'm Rhodesian. I already have a beef with the Queen over what happened with Rhodesia. So, as far as I'm concerned, the Queen can sit on that. And I'll say, well, I've said it publicly. Now, I will not bow down to anybody, and I will certainly not bow down to the Queen, who is, as head of this state, is above the law and everything else. And it amazes me that her son, Prince Julius, his wife writes a letter saying, my husband's going to kill me in a car crash. A few months later, she does die in a car crash, and he never got called to court. Now, the law says all men are equal in the eyes of the law, but as you know, the courts in this country belong to the Queen, the Crown. It's part of her public limited company. They're there to make money out of us. So that's why Julius was never called to court. And the verdict in the court was unlawful killing. So why was no murder warrants put out, or further investigation into who actually killed her? And of course we'll never know the truth now. But if you dig deep, the truth is there. It's plain in sight, just like anything. Now, going back to that psychologist who said it was all in my head, I'm going to have a right go at the medical profession here now. The medical profession itself says that chi energy does not exist. Now, what I know about chi energy is we have a yin and yang of it, and there's 7 major chakras in the body, or energy centers. And this yin and yang energy spirals upwards. One spirals one way, one spirals the other way. So when you look at it from the front, you can see them spiraling around the chakras and up to the head. So I find it very amusing that the medical profession symbol is the caduceus, which represents the yin and yang rising to the Godhead and the wings. They also sign the Hippocratic Oath. And if anybody knows anything about Hippocrates, he believed in chi energy, but he called it pneuma. So when you became ill, you had pneumonia, or a disruption of the pneuma, disruption of the chi energy. Now, I am a spiritual healer, and I use energy to heal people, which is chi energy. That's the yin side of it. For those who have seen me on YouTube break the 18 concrete slabs, that's the yang side of the chi energy. So I know it exists, and nobody can convince me that it doesn't. And recently, I did write a letter to that psychologist, and I challenged her in public to stand by her conviction and say that it's all in my head, and that I will just touch her with 3 times, and I will use a technique called DEJAN, which will kill her. It won't kill her instantly, but it'll take 3-4 days. I never got a reply. These people are full of shit, and it bugs me that these people have a say in how our society and how our lives are run, and tell us that if we don't think the same way as they do, we're now called terrorists. So it is a passion, this talk, what I'm going to do, and it's one right at the system. Now, when I first started getting into chi energy, I suddenly realised that energy flows, and it flows around the planet, and researchers have called these ley lines. The Chinese have called them dragon lines, and the Chinese art of feng shui is based on how these energy lines flow. And to give you an example, in the early 70s, a skyscraper was built in Hong Kong. A feng shui master went in and said the alignment of the building is 6 inches out. They knocked the building down and rebuilt it to how he suggested. So that's how serious the Chinese take chi energy. They also take it that serious that there's a movement in China called Falun Gong, which is like an extension of Qi Gong, where it's deep meditation. They've outlawed it, banned it. The reason why is because it's opening people's minds, and people are starting to question authority. Now, what I've noticed in the West is, yeah, these ley lines exist. The Vatican, for 2,000 years, has been taking ancient sites and then building the churches on these ancient sites. And it's usually where there's a crossing of ley lines. And where there's a crossing of ley lines, the chi energy spirals upwards. Hence, where the spire of a church comes from, because the energy's aspiring upwards. So the church steeple is called a spire because of that. So I was like, right, Christianity knows about this energy. And Christianity went out of its way to suppress this energy. And through people like King James, the Witchcraft Act was born. Incidentally, all those thousands of people put to death for practicing witchcraft did nothing wrong, basically, and that law wasn't repealed until 1951, where in this country technically you could be hung for treason. The last person to be arrested for witchcraft was a woman called Isadora Duncan. She was a medium during Second World War, and she did a séance one night with a group of people and said that a warship had sank and that there were certain members dead, and she actually named a couple of these members that were dead. There was somebody from the Navy in the audience that night, went back to HQ, said, has such a ship been sunk? Yes, it has, but it's not been made public yet. So the authorities wanted to know how Isadora Duncan knew, and they arrested her on the Witchcraft Act and tried her for treason. And she spent time in prison. She was later released and died not long after. But it just goes to show you that these authorities or these people in power have no apathy for the human being. They don't give a damn. All they want is to further their goal. And you watch it. You watch how the Vatican has manipulated us. attack on our spirit. They're taking away your right to access your own spirit or your own chi, and they're putting it into the hands of priests and bishops and stuff. Well, of course, recently we all know about the child abuse that all these paedophiles got up to, the Pope included. I've been involved in exposing paedophiles for a long time, and recently I exposed 400 paedophiles. Some of them are still serving ministers in this government. The biggest one that I'm after is Gordon Brown. He's a well-known paedophile, and if anybody wants to know further about him, just put his name in paedophile on Google and it all comes up, especially about what happened at Dunblane. If the truth came out, Blair's government would have fallen and we would never have gone to war with Saddam. Incidentally, Tony Blair is gay. He was tried in court under his two middle names, Charles Litton, for an homosexual act. So these people are telling us how to live, and yet they're so depraved. Why are they in power? Because we don't have an electoral system what works. It's bullshit. These people are chosen. And just think about this for 1 minute. Is it our government or is it Her Majesty's government? Now that tells you everything, doesn't it? The only vote I will vote for is to get rid of Parliament and start again. Get rid of the corruption that's in Parliament. Get rid of these bastards that are telling me how to live. I don't go out and hurt anybody, yet every day I'm breaking the law. And I want you to think about that. How many in this room now think they are not breaking the law? Yeah? If you say you're not breaking the law, somebody in power will bring a law out to prove that you are breaking the law. And that's how they do it. They make money out of us. We're slaves to a system. How do they get us to do this slavery? Oh, this is the attack on the mind, body and spirit using chi. Of course, we know the Vatican and all religious institutes control you. It's divide and rule. Now, I've never understood this, even as a kid. You got Islam and Christianity fighting each other. They both believe in the same God and they both have the same commandment, thou shalt not kill. Yet they do, and they so willingly, freely kill. Incidentally, I've been noticed the rising hatred towards Islam at the moment, and a lot of false flag attacks going on. Anybody seen any of these so-called beheadings on YouTube or on the TV? All I will say is, I've killed people. It is impossible to decapitate somebody with a knife that long. You've got the spine to go through. Yeah, they say, oh, he did it with a knife. This Jihad John. What utter crap. Lee Rigby, the drummer. What a load of crap that was. Lee Rigby, a Fusilier, he supposedly spent 6 years in the army. He's such a good soldier. Why is he still a private after 6 years? It's because he was a shit soldier, that's why. Now they have a memorial to him. The only soldier, the highest award ever, a memorial to what? When I dug deep into that, there is no recruiting office at the Tower of London where he was supposed to have worked. And no soldiers work in recruiting office now because it's all civilian contracted. So that was the first lie. But that night it happened, it came on the news, BBC, it said, Muslim terrorists attacked British soldier. Straight away I said to my friend, how the hell do they know they're Muslim terrorists? What we don't is what the BBC was told to report, somebody in the government set this false flag up and said, right, this is how it's going. Just a repeat of 7/7 and a repeat of 9/11. But what's it doing to your chi? People who aren't in the know, people who go to work every day, work long hours for pittance of money, come home, they're that knackered, they switch the TV on, and it's there on the TV, and they believe that's reality, when in fact it's not. A TV is a programming device. That's why they call them programs. Each TV station, channel is so full of subliminals and so full of subliminal sounds which are affecting your chi. It's affecting your body. It's making you ill. It's making you depressed. And that's where they want you. They want you dumbed down, obedient, subservient, so you just follow orders and that. You will just do as you're told. So when something happens, you don't question it. So, of course, some of us do question it. So straight away we get labelled terrorist, which I find amazing. Because if you look under the definition of terrorist, you'll see what it really means. And there is no actual laws on terrorism in this country. It's all public disorder. Now, this really gets fascinating now for me. The law. It's based on the Bible. Now, in the Bible, human is never mentioned, but man is mentioned. They also mention entities, which is your soul or your chi. And the body is just a vessel. So when you're born, you actually come down a birth canal. You're then born, and your parents are required to register you. They fine £1,000 or up to £1,000 if you don't register your child. Now the word register actually means to hand your child over to the state. That's why social services can come in at any time and take your kids away. So my advice to anybody now is do not register your child. It's easier. And if you don't believe me, how many gypsies are actually taken to court? Because gypsies don't register the children. They need a name or an identity to take to court. Now, it was Freud came up with the ego or the id, the ID. Add that to an entity, you've got a name, an identity. So you're registered. Now, what do they do with ships when they launch them? They register them. It's a vessel. It's a registered vessel. So you come through a birth canal, you get your birth certificate, and you're given an identity, which is your enemy. Now, if you look at the word name, it's N, A, me, enemy. So your worst enemy is your name. Now, it's been proven in court, when, you know, with Freeman people and stuff, you go to court and they say, right, is Mr. Such a body here? And they put the birth certificate down and says, yes, that's the legal fiction name that you want. I'm just a man. I've done it myself and it works. So that's the attack on the body. From there, you get programmed. You've got to go to school, you've got to go to college, you've got to go to university. The whole time they're programming you. You know, where to think. Well, not to think, but just to repeat. People in this room probably know about common purpose. It is very rife in our society now. It's in nursery schools, right through universities into the workplace. And common purpose is very sinister. It's taking away an person's existence. It's act as one unit, act as clones, automatrons, and then you'll get by. It also identifies leaders, but not leaders that you think in the sense leader, but a leader who will obey orders and give orders and not even question it. And that goes right down to the police force. The police force these days, they're one step from being Nazi boot boys. They are killing people. Now put this into perspective. Since 1990, how many British troops have been killed in combat? A lot less than the police have shot in this country. So who the fuck's the enemy? We are the enemy of the state. And it annoys me. And it also annoys me that these people that sit at home watching X Factor switch it off and go, oh, you're a nutter. They haven't a clue. They're just repeating what they have been told. I mean, a good example, a few years ago I put on Facebook something about 9/11. And one of my friends, I've known him for a long time, he says, 2 planes hit 2 buildings, end of story. I said, what about Building 7? And he said, what's Building 7? Now this idiot's trying to tell me about 9/11. Somebody who has a degree in metallurgy, who knows that steel doesn't melt till 2,800 degrees. And that jet fuel, when it combusts, it's an explosion. It reaches 1,300 degrees. It don't carry on burning, it's gone. So how the hell did them towers come down? I'm open to suggestions, but I don't believe the official 9/11 report. It was a false flag. Mossad was involved, and Mossad's involved in everything these days. The majority of the American government and the majority of our government are Zionists. They're not Jews, they are Zionists. And they are controlled by the Rothschilds, who are one of the other ruling families of this world. The Windsors are right at the top. They control everything. It stems down through the Council of Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, the Bilderbergs, and right down into the top levels of Freemasonry, the Round Table, charities like that. That's how they control us, not by government. The government's just a tool for these ruling elite, and has been for thousands of years. And isn't it just amazing that all American presidents, most of the politicians in this country that become prime ministers, all come from a small ruling family or a small ruling bloodline. I thought it was we the people. Obviously it's not. I mean, 120 million people in America, and that very, very small, minute people get to become president. Amazes me that people don't see this, but when you talk about it, you're a conspiracy theorist. These people that are brain dead and asleep, over the next 2 years, they are in for a very rude awakening. And it is coming, because we're being NLP now, which is neuralistic programming, where they're giving us things. They're slowly getting us used to things. And I'll give you a good example. Like I said earlier, I'm involved in exposing paedophiles. Me, a few others, and other groups are really getting to the point, we're getting to the top, where we're starting to name the royal family now as paedophiles. They're not just paedophiles, they're involved in satanic ritual abuse. And they're becoming very frightened, especially after Jimmy Savile fell. Years ago when Jill Dando was executed, I said then she was going to expose Jimmy Savile. And lots of people said, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. It's slowly coming out now. But these people at the top are starting to panic. So they're starting to NLP us on paedophilia. Just last year, Theresa May, the Home Secretary, said that paedophiles should have the right to adopt children. Where the hell is that woman's head? She's not in the same planet as us lot. But of course, she's just a front for these ruling paedophile elites. They will slowly bring in laws where it's acceptable to abuse children, just so that they can get away with it. And when I mention this to people, they go, no, you're going one step too far here. No, they won't do that. And all I can say is that you can never trust anybody. My life has shown that. Certainly within the mercenary business, some mercenaries you can count on, some you can't, because you know that they'll go to the highest bidder. And that's what makes them frightening and terrifying, actually, because you don't know when that next bullet's going to hit you, whether it's going to come from the enemy or from behind. But I find the governments do this. Now, when I came back to this country after Colombia, it was passports taken off you. Oh, you've been a mercenary, you naughty boy, slap wrist. And I went, well, can you please tell me who the Gurkhas are? Because they're not English, they're not British, they're a mercenary unit. Oh, well, that's a different story. No, it's the same story. So there's double standards, and there always has been. Now, the attack on the spirit is done by the churches and religion. The attack on the body is done by our governments under the orders of the elite. And I'll go back to this cancer. Is it beneficial to the elite to cure us all of cancer? Or is it beneficial to keep us in cancer and give us drugs that don't work and make millions of dollars each day? Because that's the reality of it. Anybody been following Bill Gates and his vaccination programs? Yeah? What the hell does an African in Africa want a vaccination for when he's looking for a bowl of rice? It's as simple as I can tell you now. When I was in the Rhodesian army, time and time again we raided terrorist camps and wiped them out. And we found stuff from the Red Cross, from the World Health Organization. That's where your money goes, to fund terrorism in Africa. Of course, you know, when we found these foodstuffs and that, we dined well that night. You know, and we used to say thank you to the World Health Organization, thank you to the Red Cross. I'm enjoying this tin of peaches or whatever it was. But that's where your money goes. For every pound you give, literally 1 penny goes to buy food that will go to Africa to help out. The government taxes it. You've got a big fat CEO at the top on 150 grand a year, and it's supposed to be a charity. Nah, abolish charities, because this government will come to its knees if you do. Because charities fund our government. Don't give to charity. Do charitable stuff, but don't give.
Can I buy Bob Geldof's latest single, mate?
Bob Geldof can go to hell. I want to know where the money from the first Band-Aid went. Yeah? I want to know that before anything else. And Bob Geldof is Illuminati. He's a front man. And Boomtown Rats, when they came out, I said straight away, they were a created band. They didn't come from the punk ethos. They were created. Look at some of the songs they've come out with. What utter shite. Yeah. Now, this is the other thing. Bombarding the body with this so-called music.
Crap music, shite.
It is. The 6 major chakras are all in line with the 6 notes on a guitar, or the 6 major notes. And the frequencies affect each chakra. So when you get somebody like Stock Aitken and Waterman manufacturing this bullshit music, it's affecting certain chakras, which dumbs people down. What I call soul music is music written by somebody who comes from inside with a passion. And you can tell the difference in that music to any other kind of music. One of my favourite composers is Mozart. His music is soul music. Of course, I'm into heavy metal as well, like Slayer. That's soul music. It comes from within. Some of you will know people like Gracie Fields, Joe Loss, they're the kind of people. They made music, not my kind of music, but they made music which came from within, from the soul. Now, during the 60s, when teenagers started to rebel and started to listen to rock and roll, the authorities put out that it's the devil's music. Well, they've given over doing that now, because bands like Judas Priest took these people to court and proved in court that it wasn't the devil's music and that it was a figment of their imagination and that they were just trying to divide and rule the youth. Then the 60s came along, and this is where the youth's consciousness expanded, because they started to turn around to the authorities and say, no, we're not going to do what you tell us anymore. By the way, we've discovered LSD. It's expanding our minds, which most drugs do. But I'm not advocating the use of drugs, but drugs do expand your consciousness. And there's one on the market going around at the moment called DMT. Some people call it the God drug. I've tried it once. It's amazing. It does give you an insight into the universe. It does show you your DNA makeup. And when you come out of that trip, you start to question exactly what is DNA and where do humans come from. And the authorities are frightened of this. 100 years ago, cannabis was legal, but mainly black people smoked it. When it started crossing over and more white people were smoking it, they started questioning, so they banned it, and it automatically turned people into criminals. Now, if I go up tonight and I smoke a joint, I'm a criminal, but who's the victim? Yeah? This is why it's illegal, but it's not unlawful. Now, does anybody know the history of Preston? Priest town, Jesuits. The Jacobite rebellion in 17, whatever it was, they got as far as Preston, and they met up with the Royalist forces, and there was the Battle of Preston. They were all rounded up, and all the officers were executed, and all the men, which were Scottish and Irish, were shipped off to mainly Montserrat as slaves. And for the first 7 years of the slave trade in the Caribbean, it was Irish and Scottish. Then they discovered that the black man was a cheaper commodity. Now, that's part of history we will never be taught in school, because again, they're dumbing us down. They're denying us as who we are. You get a lot of black people screaming, oh, the white man did this to us, the white man did that to us. It's like, hang on, the white man did it to us as well. Now, I actually have 2 friends who were from Montserrat, and they enlightened me on the word nigger. They said, well, you're a nigger as well. And when they went into it, yeah, we are, we're all niggers. We're all slaves. We're slaves one way or the other. And that's what the word nigger actually means. It's slave. But of course, in modern times, it means something else. It's obviously, I wouldn't use it to anybody. It is derogative, but that's where it comes from. So when you see newsreaders like Trevor MacDonald, you know somewhere in his family history, his ancestors were Scottish because of the surname MacDonald. And it wasn't given to his ancestors because the plantation owner was called MacDonald. It was given to him because the slaves were Scottish. Now, Preston was a up-and-coming town, and it made its fortune on the slave trade. And there's evidence still in Preston now. There's a pub called the Blackamoor. That used to be the slave trading house. And the slaves were kept in the cellars and brought up for market on market day and sold. The other big commodity, what Preston is famous for, is cotton. And one more, which is least known, but it's the one that really made Preston its money. And that was selling cannabis around the world, or hemp, for ropes for the ships. So we have a history behind us which they're trying to suppress. I know certainly when I was growing up in Rhodesia, our history was suppressed because white rule. Now Mugabe's in charge, the true history of Rhodesia is coming out. So history is written by the successor to control us, to brainwash us, to hit our bodies with this negative chi so that we believe them. And that we'll actually fight to the death over this belief, which is based on a lie. Now, in a black magic ceremony, what do you do when you want a spirit or a demon to come? You summon it, don't you? Now, can anybody think straight away where that happens to us? The Magi straits summon us to court. Yeah? It's black magic. And the victim at the end of it is us. We're the ones who get screwed by these magicians. And it goes right down from the police when they first stop you. Blah, 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 do you understand? The minute you say yeah, you're giving the policeman authority to stand over you and accept whatever he says as rule. So if a policeman ever says to you, do you understand, just say no. And get him to write it down as well. Yeah? When it goes to court, 9 times out of 10, your court case will be thrown out because you've not agreed and consented, which is statute laws. Now,
What happens if you say I don't agree or consent to what you're accusing me of?
yeah.
If you don't say yes or no, what happens then?
Well, I'll give you an example. 2 years ago, I got caught. I was speeding on motorbike, and the copper, he were a right arsehole, basically. So he was talking down to me, so I started, and I went, well, what authority do you stand under? He said, I'm a policeman. I said, no, you look like a clown. How do I know you're a policeman? He says, well, it says there, police. I said, I can get one of them in a pound shop. Who are you? Well, he actually gets his warrant card out and whatnot, and I said, well, I still don't recognise you. I don't believe you. I believe you are a liar. Anyway, I'm not a liar, I'm a policeman. And I says, well, why have you pulled me? He said, speeding. I said, no, alleged. Where's your evidence? Well, of course he didn't have the evidence, did he? But then he goes on, calls for backup, they calls down, and they go, right, we're going to have to search you. You know, one thing led to another. So, all right, go on then, search me. Well, they pulled out a bit of cannabis. And he goes, we've got you. What's this? I said, I don't know. He says, yes, you do. Well, I don't know, it's not mine. He said, I've just found it on you. I said, allegedly. I said, isn't the law 9/10 possession? It's yours now. So, I gets arrested, goes down to the police station. 4-hour interview, we're running around in circles of this. Is this yours? No, it's yours. The law says 9/10 possession, it's yours. He says, well, I believe this is cannabis. I said, why? Have you got a degree in horticulture? I said, I don't know what it is. It's yours. Now, because I wouldn't admit to it, that it was mine and that it was cannabis, they couldn't charge me. So they let me go. Now, it's just knowing them little facts on the law. But when you do go to court, when the Magi summons you, they ask you to stand in a dock. Well, the last time I went to court, I refused to stand in the dock. The magistrate says, why not? I said, well, I get seasick. So, we just didn't go that well, but I don't give a damn. You know, the worst they can do is kill me, and I'm not frightened of that. So when I go to court, I love playing with them. You know, it's like, what do they always say? Ignorance of the law is no excuse. So when you know a little bit about the law, you can have me around in circles. Anyway, that's the attack on the body. So they're taking away all this, that you're born free. You're born into slavery. You've got this ID, birth certificate. They need it to identify you so they can screw you. The other thing they give you is a national insurance number. And that's the other way they screw you. They tax you on it. Now, did you know that no tax is compulsory? It's voluntary. They don't tell you that. They say it's compulsory. Well, that's another issue. You could spend all night just talking on that alone. But check it out. Now, I presume we all pay tax in this room, yeah? I know I do.
I get taxed back.
Good. Now,
Screw them.
now, just paying tax is supporting this system. So when you say, I don't want to support this system, they're not going to let you go and do that. They're going to tax you anyway. So you're supporting the system, whatever. So if you're supporting the system, then we should have freedom of speech. Yeah? Because if we are supporting a system, we are part of that system. And we have the right to say what's going on in that system. And this is where they've dumbed us down. Recently, I had an argument with a friend. She said, are you not going to vote? I went, no, I don't vote. Oh, you should vote. I went, why? She said, because it'll change things. Well, of course, after laughing for about 5 minutes, I said, how do you mean it's going to change things? She says, well, yeah, we could get rid of David Cameron and replace it with somebody else. And I went, you really believe that? She said, yeah. I said, do you know what proportional representation is? Well, it went right over her head, didn't it? I went, you haven't a clue, have you? She goes, yeah, I vote. I vote for Parliament. And they enact laws and tell us how to live. I went, no, it don't work that way. I said, you vote, that piece of paper gets thrown away, and they put in who they've decided to put in anyway. I said, Tony Blair's a good example. His manifesto, not one part of that manifesto did he promise and kept that promise. He reneged on it. But when you look at who Tony Blair is, he's a 33-degree Freemason for a start. He's a solicitor. And he's also a major member of the Illuminati. There's warrants out for his arrest around the world for war crimes. Yet he's still laughing. And we're supporting it because we're financing him. Just yesterday, I found out David Cameron lost 17.5 million. And no questions were asked. Now, surely in austere times, 17.5 million is a bloody lot of money. And yet he's just lost it. Oh, but it's okay. Now, going back to that friend of mine, I said to her, did you vote David Cameron in? She goes, no, somebody else did. I went, no. She said, yeah, they must have done. I went, no, it's a coalition government. They weren't voted in. Nobody voted for David Cameron. Yet we're all bending over and taking it right up the arse off him. How many people have Atos killed? Yeah? Far more than the IRA, ISIS, Saddam, Gaddafi, Assad. Far more people than they ever will. So who's the enemy? I believe it's break time, but after the break, I'll get into how we can combat this and how we can fight back. And it's very simple, actually. But the main thing is being aware that they're doing this to us and that they are affecting our chi and making us unhealthy. There's too many people with too many illnesses in this country. There's new illnesses coming out all the time, like Ebola. Apparently this is supposed to be around for thousands of years. Well, I know it was created by the CIA in Africa in 1974. Okay, we'll have a break. Thank you. Just before I left off, I spoke a bit about Ebola. Ebola, forget the illness, forget what it is. It's just something to create fear so that people rush out and get flu jabs and get Ebola jabs and all this crap. Now, a good example of this fear factor was last year. Anybody remember the flu outbreak in South Wales? Yeah? Well, big mad rush to get flu vaccinations. The medical profession didn't have enough. They had to draft loads in. The true reality of what happened there, and you can go on South Glamorgan National Health site on the internet, there was one case of flu which caused all that. Now, what caused it? The media. Who owns the media? The Rothschilds. All major media is owned by Reuters, which is owned by Rothschilds. So Rothschilds give out the order to the government, create a scare, we'll make money out of it. And it's as simple as that. So this Ebola thing, it's like, all of a sudden they're going to announce that they've got a vaccine for Ebola, and there's going to be a big mad rush to get this vaccine. The Ebola won't kill you, but the vaccine will kill you. And if you look at Bill Gates' history with vaccines, the vaccines he's giving out in Africa, supposedly to combat illnesses and stuff, it's all containing ingredients which make men infertile. Now, as a kid, there was rumours going around the African community in Africa that all these vaccines were dumbing down the third eye. Obviously now I've got older, I really believe that happened now.
Don't the Rockefellers control all the medical pharmaceutical corporations and the medical side? The Rothschilds control the banks, and don't the Rockefellers control all the pharmaceuticals?
Rothschilds, Rockefellers are the same.
Illuminati families.
Yeah. Now, the big man right at the front of the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, the Windsors, is a guy called George Soros. Don't know if you've heard of him, but every major conflict in the world, he is behind it. He's there to make money out of it. Now, I first came across George Soros in Bogota in Colombia, 1983. He was working out of the CIA. He was CIA, working out of the American embassy there. Exactly what he was doing is open to speculation, but I believe he was securing all the cocaine trade for America. Most of the cocaine what went into America at that time was controlled by the CIA anyway. If anybody wants to know further information on that, I will give them everything I know. So, getting back to this dumbing us down, they got this attack by religions and the Vatican and institutions like that on our spirituality. Then we've got the attack on our brain by the education institutions, the government-backed institutions, telling us what to do, which has a detrimental effect on our health. I believe stress is one of the biggest killers now. It certainly leads to heart attacks. When I was a social worker, I did a thesis on Down syndromes, how many of them actually die from stress or stress-related illnesses, and the answer is none, because they don't know what stress is. And it's as simple as that. If you can eliminate stress out of your life, you're going to live a lot longer and you're going to have a healthier lifestyle. So many people said to me, well, how have you done it? You know, why do you not get stressed? And I have two small words for it, and it's called fuck it. I don't give a shit. I'll do stuff in my time, it'll get done, and I'm happy. If somebody wants to interfere with that, be it at their own will. But I'm happy. I don't go out hurting anybody. I don't mean to hurt anybody. I'm not stealing off anybody. I'm not doing anything wrong to anybody. I just want to live my life and live it happily. But obviously the powers that be don't like that. So I'll speak out against the injustice that's coming from these bastards. I don't like them. I don't like being told what to do. It's almost like they're taking away your intelligence to think for yourself. They don't like it. So how else do they back this up with what they're doing to us? And it's through the environment. They put fluoride in our water. Now, the only thing fluoride does is calcify the pituitary gland, which makes you subservient and obedient. And the first ones to discover this was the Nazis in Auschwitz. They put fluoride in the water system. We've all seen the films of the Jews happily walking to their death, to the gas chambers. You ever going back to that guy, them guys being beheaded? Isn't it amazing how they just sit there and let it happen? I couldn't. If somebody was going to cut my head off, I'd kill them, or I'd die trying. I wouldn't just sit there and let it happen. I'd fight to the last minute, and I think everybody else would as well. So how else are they doing it? Well, we all know about chemtrails. Exactly what's in chemtrails, I don't know. But I know they ain't natural and they ain't supposed to be there. Yeah.
I've seen a shot on the internet of a mock-up of these beheadings, or of one of the beheadings in particular, and somebody's leaked a picture where there's a couple on a set with a green screen at the back with some information at the front, and
Yeah.
something to do with CIA on it as well.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
So it's all...
Oh, it's all bullshit. But to the average person who watches X Factor and football and that, they believe it. I mean, it's beyond me what people watch on television and believe. You know, the 6 o'clock news comes on and they go, oh, that happened, that happened, that happened. They'll go, well, why don't you question it? Well, there's no point in questioning it, it's the truth. And that's how stupid people are.
Tell line for exile.
Yeah. So, the other way they're doing it is by medicating us. Have you noticed how in recent years there's made up illnesses now? Latest one's bipolar. In my days, it was called depression. Now it's bipolar. Oh, we'll give you drugs for this, we'll give you drugs for that. These drugs don't work. But the medical profession, the pharmaceutical companies are making vast amounts of money out of us. And the powers that be know that it's all dumbing us down. Have you heard of the Aurora shootings and Sandy Hook shootings and all them false flags in America? The one thing in common that all the perpetrators of these crimes have in common, they're all wired on Ritalin. They've been given pharmaceutical drugs. They're wired. I mean, you couldn't get that high off illegal drugs. You just look at the photographs of them. And they've all got the same glazed eyes, the same distant look. On top of that, you give a little bit of programming like MK Ultra, and you've got your perfect killer. They will obey obediently and do it, and not even remember doing it.
See the same look in politicians' eyes, don't you?
Yeah. Now, recently in Southern Ireland, there's been a large spate of suicides. So the Irish government's answer to it is to put antidepressants in the water system. Now, how would that affect people who don't suffer from depression? And what choice did they have? Yeah? And that's the main thing about what they're doing to our chi, is taking away our freedom of choice. Where this is it, if you don't abide by it, you're a terrorist. And sooner or later, they're going to start executing terrorists, getting rid of us all. I've got a very good friend, sometimes comes here. Some of you might know him, Mike Dobson. On paper, if you go on the Crown Prosecution Service website, put Mike Dobson in, he'll come up along with other terrorists. He's a convicted terrorist. Now, what exactly was his crime? He had a copy of the Anarchist Cookbook on an old computer, and he was into making model rockets with his son. They said that the model rocket making equipment was bomb making equipment. Now, Mike never admitted to it. He only admitted to the facts, which was, yeah, I was in possession of these things because I'm into model rocket making equipment. They went, no, you were intending to make bombs, you're a terrorist. And they convicted him and put him in prison. Now, if that can happen to Mike, it can happen to any of us. You know, and to be honest, I'm waiting for the knock at the door for me. Because, you know, sooner or later, they're going to try and put something on me and lock me away, shut me up. But the only way to shut me up is to put a bullet in my head. Because I won't shut up. I've always been outspoken. If I see something wrong, I'll say it. And, you know, if it upsets people, it upsets people. But the truth is the truth. And the truth always comes out in the end. I mean, slowly things are starting to come out about 9/11 now. And, you know, a lot of people are starting to question it. Certainly Americans are. Because the one thing that's dear to Americans, which the elite have tried to take off them, are the guns. So when all these false flags like Sandy Hook and Aurora were going on, there was outrage all around the world. Stupid Americans, they've got guns, take them off them, they don't need guns. Well, the Second Amendment was put into place just so that the American people could have guns. And it was to fight outside threats and also threats from within. And the biggest threat now to America is from within. And this is why Obama's going hell to take the guns off the Americans. A lot of American friends I have now are arming themselves to the teeth. They're ready. And I've said, well, 25 years ago I knew about Agenda 21. that all this is coming to light, and the Americans will ask the United Nations to go in. And all my American friends have got, whoa, great, little blue helmets as targets. They are willing to fight. Now, one thing that has been happening in America is that Obama's let the borders down, and there's thousands of illegal immigrants crossing over the border. Now, that's for a reason. When martial law comes, Obama has already asked his troops, would they kill Americans? And a lot of them have said no. The ones that have said no have been sacked, been murdered, or resigned. The ones that have said yeah are still working in the military. Now, where will Obama or his masters get the troops from to kill Americans? The answer's simple: illegal immigrants. Here you are, boys, here's a job. Do you want to kill Yankees? Yeah. Well, we'll pay you to do it. So that's how it's going to come about. Most people in America are dumbed down and don't know what this is really happening. They're not aware of it on their own media. Fox News, CBN, CNN. They're all Rothschilds, Reuters. They're controlled. The information that is given out is controlled. And it's the same in this country. I mean, many people I've spoken to over the last 2 years, I'll say, oh, did you hear about Pete getting arrested at Birkenhead? Oh, no, I never heard about that. Well, history in the making. A judge gets arrested. Well, why was it not on the BBC News? It's like, well, it was on the local BBC News, but it only got a little bit of a mention, and it never mentioned that a judge was arrested or anything. So that's how the media is controlled and how people are dumbed down. Of course, the medications on top of it, the fluoride in the water, the chemtrails, where the pituitary glands are well calcified. They're incapable of free thinking. They're incapable of brainstorming. My brother, he's a prime example of it. Although in the last 2-3 years he has started to waken up. But up to that point he said, well, it doesn't affect me. I says, well, it will affect you. No, it won't affect me. Just last week he said, well, everything you've been talking about for the last 30 years, he said it's started to affect me and it's annoying me. I said, well, ain't that great? So you're coming to me for help now, are you? And he goes, yeah. Oh, sorry, I can't give it you. I offered that help 30 years ago and you thought I were a nut job. You're the nut job now. Figure it out for yourself. Now, that's my own brother. Of course I will help him, but I'm not telling him that at the moment. And if he watches this on YouTube, he'll know now. But, you know, it's this apathy within people, what the elite or the rulers have managed to do and are continuing to do and will always continue to do until we fight them back. Now, raising awareness of it is one fight, which they don't like. The other is a quick meditation I'm going to do with all of you, and it's a way to combat what they're actually doing to us. But first of all, switch your TV off, get rid of it. Stop listening to this bloody radio pop music shite, because that's very subliminal and it's affecting chakras which dumb you down. If you watch the news on TV or wherever, question it. Don't take it at face value. Ask questions. First of all, ask where did they get the story from? Or if you read it in a newspaper, see where they got the story from. Now, I've noticed in newspapers over the last 10 years, they'll come out with a story and they don't actually name names. 2 persons were arrested, blah, blah, blah. Police spokesman says this, government spokesman says that. And when you get to the end of it, it's like, well, who actually said what? No names are mentioned. It's as though a reporter has just sat down and dreamt it all up, put it out, and people are believing it. Now, a lot of people laugh at newspapers like the Sunday Sport, not realising that the rest of the newspapers are just as stupid as that. They're full of bullshit. If you want the real stories, get on the internet, get talking to like-minded people, get talking to people who are actually there. Like this Ebola outbreak in West Africa. You talk to West Africans and they haven't a clue what's going on. They've never heard of it, they don't know. A couple of weeks ago, this one made me laugh. It shows this Ebola patient on a stretcher, 2 people, one at front, one at back, in full chemical suits, and they're walking past a guy with a clipboard. And I just cracked up laughing. A couple of people who were away at the time, they said, "What are you laughing at?" I said, "That." He said, "Oh, it's serious, isn't it?" I went, "Yeah, so serious, there's a guy there with a clipboard. Why is he not getting Ebola?" I never thought of that. Question it. Question everything what you're being told.
Apparently he was there to direct the others because they couldn't see properly with their suits on.
Sorry?
He was alleged, apparently he was there so they could direct the ones in their bodysuits because they couldn't see where they were going properly.
Yeah, apparently. So, anyway, that's basically what this talks about, is how they are affecting our chi and making us unhealthy in mind, body and spirit. Now, one way to combat it is this simple meditation, which I'll take you all through. You don't have to do it, but if you can, try. I just want you to sit and relax. Just close your eyes and take 10 deep breaths. Breathe in through your nose. Try use your diaphragm to bring that breath down, and then breathe out through your mouth. Keep your tongue on the roof of your mouth at all times. Now imagine yourself totally naked, and start surrounding yourself in a bubble of pure white light. If there's anything inside that bubble, throw it out. If there's any darkness or shadows, throw them out. And if there's anything clinging to you, now on the outside of the bubble, mirrorize it, so that anything coming towards you will be reflected back. I'll just make an affirmation that anything thrown at you will go back to the sender threefold. And that's it basically. If you practice that first thing in the morning and then last thing at night, you'll find that slowly tranquility will start coming into your life. You'll start feeling more and more energies around. I certainly feel these Gwen towers, these telephone masts. I know when they're near me, I can feel them. They must not be healthy. But of course, the elite or the government say they are healthy, just like electric pylons are healthy. But I know now that living under one, you're being bombarded by negative ions all the time, which will give you cancer. Now, it's amazed me that nobody in this country has took the government to court and sued them over that, for blatantly lying and destroying lives. But that is the way forward. See, they're trying to bring in this new world order, and everything's a corporation. I'll sue them. Don't protest, because if you protest, you're asking for rights. And if you're asking for rights, it's like begging. And all they do is take away some of your freedoms to give you your rights. Don't protest, contest. By contesting, you will win. Because it goes before a jury, or it goes before a court. The law is the law. And you are the master of your own vessel. And in the eyes of the law, you're as equal as anybody else. So don't let these bastards put you down. Don't let them take away your identity as a human being, as somebody who's a free spirit. Thank you. Is there any questions? Yeah.
When you were saying earlier about the government not trying to bring in the new laws and that to protect themselves from the being power, is it right that Edward Heath in the 70s tried to reduce the age of consent to 4?
Yeah. Which is an interesting point there. I mean, we all agreed that 16 is the age of consent. Now, a friend of mine, she's only 15, she's pregnant at the moment, so she's broken the law. But obviously, biologically, she's capable of having a baby. Her boyfriend is same age. They're creating a life, they're creating a family. Yet they're not allowed to smoke, they're not allowed to drink. Oh yeah, this is funny. A lot of people get ID'd because they look under 25. About a month ago, I was going into Blitz nightclub in Preston, and a bouncer asked me for ID. That's how pathetic this country's become. Of course, I give him a mouthful, and he just went, oh, sorry. But how stupid is it to ask for an ID? Especially when at the age of 17, you can join the army, go and fight for your country, and pay the ultimate sacrifice, yet you can't drink or smoke. How stupid is that? Now, when I was in Rhodesia, the drinking age limit was 21. Now, obviously 16-year-olds were going into the army. Now, on R&R, if we went in a bar, nobody asked for your ID. They knew you were in army, they knew you were a squaddy, and they would not follow the law and ask for ID. No, you're fighting for the country, I'll buy you a drink. That was the answer. Things have changed now, where people are, yeah, where's your ID? Where's your ID? ID this, ID that. An ex-girlfriend a few years ago, I went in shop with her. She got ID'd buying me some tobacco. So I said to the woman, she's 28, that girl. Well, she looks a lot younger. I said, do you know her history? Do you know she was actually in the army fighting for this country and stuff? I don't care, the law's the law. I went, all right, the law's the law, is it? Well, you've just caused her a tort. I'll give you notice of her liens. She looked at me and said, what's that? I went, I'll sue you, I'll sue the arse of you. You can't do that. I went, yeah, I can. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. If you want to practice the law, let's practice it. At which point, then she served us. But it's how stupid, is it? But these laws only come in because we allow it. I mean, there's no smoking ban. I'm not going to get into the ins and outs of smoking, whether it's good or bad for you. But the fact is, they brought in this law, no smoking. Who polices it? You try lighting a cigarette up in a pub. How many people start staring at you? And come on, you can't smoke here. That's who's policing us. We are policing ourselves. That's how stupid we are. And this is what the elite know. They know how to play us off against each other. The time is over. The time is to unite and get rid of this elite and get a government in what we've elected under a fair, proper democracy, not this democracy that we're supposed to have now, which is a lot of crock of shit. One man, one vote. What a lot of bollocks.
The Greeks that threw that smoking ban out in a couple of months, didn't they?
Yeah.
You know, good luck to Greeks. Anyway, while we're on smoking, Kitty Little, she said that they got diesel buses in South Africa, and within about 7 or 8 years they were getting lung cancer.
Yeah.
Lung cancer is caused by diesel buses.
Yeah.
And they're driving through all cities, and all little kids are walking on footpaths.
Yeah.
It's diesel buses, diesel stuff that causes cancer, not smoking.
About 13, 14 years ago, I was at the University of Leeds. It's a medical university. There's about 50 cadavers on the tables, and I asked the professor what they all died of, and he said lung cancer. And I said, oh, from smoking? And he went, no, none of them were smokers. He said, this is environmental.
Yeah, diesel.
If you live in East Yorkshire, on the moors, and you live in London, there's a 10-year mortality rate difference. But they blame it on smoking. Yeah. Question everything. Right, thank you.